India, Toastmaster Siddharth. Over to you.
Every single time when there is a launch of ISRO's prestigious missions, be it Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan, on board the PSLV and GSLV rockets, there is a frenzy of chest-thumping nationalism and pride across India. Everybody's cheering for it. And people like me in the media are also drumming up and cheering for this amazing feat. But well, there's been this one man who, over the last several decades, has been saying that everything that we are achieving now in these last 5 years in terms of Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan could have been achieved at least a decade or two ago if history had turned out differently. And he's saying this rightly so. And the man, friends and fellow Toastmasters, who's saying this is none other than the Princetonian who rejected the lure of America and came down to serve India. His name is Nambi Narayanan, Padma Bhushan Nambi Narayanan. His journey with the Indian Space Research Organization, or rather INCOSPAR as it was then called, began in 1996. Fresh out of an engineering college in Madurai, he joined this organization, an organization that was pretty much like a startup. They had only 23 engineers, led by one visionary, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. At that point in time, when he joined this particular organization, there were only 23 engineers and he was part of a small team of 5 members who were working on 4 simple desks. And his team leader was a person who was short and of stocky build called APJ Abdul Kalam. During his first year of work, he mastered several technologies and understood the basics of rocketry and conducted n number of experiments. And then as he progressed, he understood one thing, that India had to go on the right track and India had to modernize. He fought with his organization and told them very clearly that, look, professionally, we must go in a different direction. Technologically, we must focus on liquid propulsion engines. Including Kalam and all the big names in the organization at that point in time wanted only solid propulsion engines. So basically, solid engines are like a matchstick. You light it and it burns off. It's over. But liquid engines are sophisticated and different. Liquid engines are like our cars and bikes. They can be switched on and off at will. They can lift more weight. They are more efficient and they are the future of space technology. He said this in 1967 when India was barely firing Diwali rockets, which were barely 3 inches in diameter. That's small. You could hold it in your hand. That's small. And then 2 years later, he applied to a college that had already accepted him and again wanted to go abroad to study. At this time, Princeton, the most prestigious university in the world in America's New Jersey, invited him and made him a NASA fellow, a special fellowship and a scholarship to study there. He did his master's there and specialized in solid and liquid propulsion, learning all the tricks of the trade. In fact, he proved to Americans and the rest of the world that his Indian brain is no match for them. This course technically takes about 18 months to complete, and he aced it in about 9 to 10 months. A course at the world's most prestigious university where even Albert Einstein was once a professor. And right after that, after he completed his course, the NASA guys who were trying to lure him, Eugene Scott, one of the big names in NASA, tried to offer him a pay package and say that we'll give you even a citizenship. You need to work here. He just made one phone call to his mentor, in ISRO's founder, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, and told him, what do I do? Dr. Sarabhai replied and said, leave those nasty fellows behind. Get on the next plane back and come back here in India. We need you. That's exactly what he did. And in 1973, he began his work on liquid propulsion after several fights within the organization and a tussle to actually prove that liquid was the future in an organization where many people refused to believe the potential of liquid propulsion. 1973, he names an engine Vikas. Vikas was development, but in his head, Vikas meant Vikram A. Sarabhai, a tribute to his master who had died just 2 years ago. 1975, he begins with a team of Indian scientists in France, about 50 to 100 scientists. 5 man-years they slogged and they developed this engine that the French called Viking and the Indians called Vikas. But it was not over in 1980. After 1980, it took about 13 years, 1993, for that Vikas engine to be integrated into the first PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle rocket, the rocket that has flown almost 50 times till date. 1993, the launch was flawless, but the satellite was not put into orbit. The engines performed exceedingly well. 94, the launch was successful and the engines proved itself yet again. India had literally entered the space race, and how? That was thanks to Nambi Narayanan and his team. But well, what happened after that? 50 flights of PSLV. PSLV has become the most reliable rocket in the world, with more than 100% performance of all its engines, absolute reliability. But 1994, history was not kind to this great man who served India after rejecting the Role of America. There was a fabricated fake case calling him a spy and a traitor for selling secrets, India's rocket secrets, to Pakistan through few uneducated Maldivian women. A case that was prima facie very flawed and absolutely ridiculous. 4 years it took him to actually fight the case legally and get out of it. But in the 4 years, his career was ruined. The best rocket scientist India ever had, his career was absolutely ruined. His family life was ruined. And the only regret he had was that he couldn't build a better engine, because at that point in time, when this case had hit him, which he suspects is a foreign conspiracy, when this case had hit him, he was the director of the cryogenic engine project. And the cryogenic engine is the elder cousin of the Vikas engine, still fueled by liquids, but by frozen liquids such as liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. And when these engines take off, they can get you to Mars or Moon or even outer space. That is the power of this engine. And had he sticked on with ISRO, had he stayed on there if not for this case, these engines would have materialized by 2001. But the fact remains that tragically, our country was pushed back about 2 decades and we got these engines only in 2014-15. And even today, we are still learning in bits and pieces on how to make better engines than the Vikas. Nambi Narayanan sir often laments that in 27 years, we have not been able to develop an engine that is even today better than the Vikas engine that flew in 1993. So essentially, this is the man who rejected the lure of America, came back to India to serve the country. Sometimes he says, smilingly, I couldn't be a good father or perhaps a good husband because I dedicated 35 years of my life to science and technology and India's growth. But well, I had to languish 50 days in prison, being tortured by Kerala police and intelligence bureau officials who wanted to call me a spy and a traitor. Of course, last year he was awarded the Padma Bhushan, the third highest civilian honor in India, and several other honors over the years. The Supreme Court ordered that he be paid a compensation. But what compensation is fair for a man who dedicated his life for the growth of this country and still continues to do so with the zeal of a teenager and the energy of somebody who is purely godly and somebody who wants to work for the country, for the betterment of this country, even at this age of his? Well, I want to sum up by telling something, that our system is such that all of those who get rewarded have not contributed big time, but not all of them who are actually contributed in a big way are rewarded adequately. Sometimes they're rewarded too late, or sometimes they're brushed under the carpet. And this is the life of this phenomenal man, whose life is shortly to come out as a movie called Rocketry, The Nambi Effect by R. Madhavan, and also whose biography, The Ready to Fire, is also available on shelves. I thank you very much. So now that brings me to the end of this speech. Now we got a measure of the man, of this great soul who has contributed so much to India and so much to our country's development in the field of space. So well, if he had continued and if his journey had continued, perhaps today NASA or SpaceX would not have been the leaders in launch technology as they are. We would have had a larger pie of the global launch market. India would have been a different player in this entire league. And now to hear it from the man himself, I'd like to invite, with all humility, respect, and by joining my hands, I'd like to invite Padma Vibhushan Nambi Narayanan sir. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It's our honor that you're here with us today on live video link. But kindly tell us about your journey and also about how you feel, and kindly inspire all of us people who are trying to do our bit to contribute in smaller ways. Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Actually, Siddharth has summed it up in a manner where you can understand, hopefully, the rocket science and its advancement in India. I think he made a small mistake. He said that I joined ISRO in 96. Actually, I joined in 1966. And 1966 is a year, actually 63, we started the rocketry. And 66 is the time when Dr. Baba got killed in an air crash. Actually, he was the Atomic Energy Commission chairman. Then 1971, Dr. Sarabhai died while he was staying in a guest house in Kerala. I had the fortune of working with all the three giants, Dr. Sarabhai, then Professor Satish Dhawan, and Dr. U.R. Rao. Of course, there are centers, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Satish Dhawan Space Center, and U.R. Rao Satellite Center. So totally, I worked with Sarabhai for more than 5-6 years. Satish Dhawan for about 12 years, and Professor U.R. Rao 13 years. Incidentally, I worked with Mr. Seshan, who was actually the director of administration in ISRO for about 10 years. I would say that I had the luck of working with these great men, great sons of India, and we could develop the Vikas engine, yes, and it is a teamwork. And it was not my contribution alone. It's more than, in a way, it's about 2,000 engineers have contributed in one way or other. I happen to be the project director for that. But there was another one where I was alone. And that contribution should be coming only to me, and the credit goes to me, is that proving my innocence and trying to punish those people who have made this fabrication. That took about 23 years, yeah, 23, 25 years. So that one is my single contribution. I am the only man without any support, basically. But later, some good journalists like, Gopa Kumar, and then, many people joined me in that. So this is my brief story. And I was a NASA fellow working on the lunar module, which landed on the moon, and happened to be in one of the Ivy League universities. And they offered me a citizenship, and I could politely turn it down and then came back to India, with a hope that we will be able to make. Actually, I was working to make India as a space power. What I mean by space power is that stop getting the funding from the government of India, generate your own funding, and then give back some of the profits back to the government. But that didn't materialize till date. In fact, it is very interesting. Or, you are watching the entire program. I'm talking about the space program. So I would stop here, leaving the privilege of, you can ask me any questions which you feel required. I don't know the timing, but anyway, you can ask me any questions which you wish to ask.
So thank you, our honorable and esteemed guest, Mr. Nambi Narayanan sir, for addressing us. Now I request a presiding officer, Toastmaster Vigneshwaran, to recognize our esteemed guest.
Dear Padma Bhushan Nambi Narayanan sir, it is an immense pleasure for us that you joined our meeting and bestowed us by being guest speaker. Your precious time was of great importance to us. It was nice to host you in our meeting, and your kind words worth a lot to us. People like you are sort of encouragement for people like us. Your step would serve as an initiative, and we want to express our deepest gratitude towards you. Thank you for joining with us, sir. So still the question and answer session is open. Please, if anyone have questions for Nambi Narayanan sir, you can.
I have a question. Hello, sir. It's an immense privilege and pleasure and probably a blessing for all of us to be witnessing you on a Sunday morning, hearing you. So I owe a lot to Toastmasters Siddharth for giving us this opportunity. So the question that I have is, having gone through 25 years of your life trying to prove something which is not a priority for a brilliant mind like yours, who could have made a significant contribution and in turn a milestone to India's space history, do you still have the urge to work on something, or is there something that you're still probing? Is some research going on from your end, because I believe that brilliant minds never stop working. There is no barrier to prevent you from exploring science and in fact, space science to be specific. So is there something that you're currently working on or currently you're exploring just out of interest? Thank you.
Actually, it's a good question. I don't know. I hope I am working on some programs which will be useful in the sense what I told you. Whether we can make India can make its own funding, so that you become a contributor in terms of funding instead of asking funding from the government. In that sense, yes, I have some ideas which I am trying to pass it on to the right people, and I think I hope they will be doing certain things in that direction. But technically, I am old. I keep track of what's happening by various agencies in the country, including Europe and USA and all. But managerially, policy-wise, what should be the right direction that I'm trying to contribute? Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Just one last question. I mean, although I have a ton of them. So just one question is, you're extremely resourceful when it comes to your knowledge with regard to space science. And right now, India has got some startups which are trying to get into the space industry, because when it comes to space and India, the only thing that we all can name is ISRO. But now many startups have taken enough courage to go up, and there is one which is currently going on called Agnikul, which is trying to launch rockets, like more like an Uber for space. So is there a way where you will be able to offer your experience and expertise to the current startups in our country? Because considering the fact that when you were offered citizenship from by the United States, you chose to come back here, which shows what you would like to contribute to our country. Is there a way you could help the youngsters right now, the current startups which want to establish themselves in the space tech industry, like probably 10 years down the lane, they could be our SpaceX? So are you interested in something like that?
No, actually, it is a collaboration. The startups, I'm seeing the startups. I don't know. I am not very sure about how they plan to proceed. There are two ways. One is they have their own idea of doing certain things. Another one is ISRO should accept them and then try to help them out. For example, SpaceX would be nowhere without the help of NASA, for example. Similarly, the Arianespace, without the help of Arianespace, the Europeans may not be able to come to certain level. Even in China, you have private companies. But that is not my view is the private companies should come, and for that you need the potential. Production kind of thing, which I did successfully. For example, way back in 1990s, 85, 90s, I made Andhra Sugars a company to make the unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrazine, which is the liquid propellant. And then I also made MTAR, a private company, to produce the Viking engine along with Godrej. But ISRO somehow had reluctance in going along with private companies, probably because they didn't want to trust them, or they didn't have any big hope on them, whatever it is. But I am of the view that having developed certain technology, you should leave it to somebody else to produce it in numbers as per the requirement, and then get hold of the job. ISRO need not, as I told you, when I joined ISRO, we were only 23, 26 people. Today, we are about some 25,000 or 32,000 people, I am told. So in that process, everybody need not bother themselves to work on the productionization. That is something which you can leave it to some private companies. But the research and development, Even in spite of 27 years of past, we are having only the Viking engine thruster. You don't have anything bigger than that. Similarly, though it was very late, we have the cryogenic system. Not exactly the optimal system which one would like to have, but larger thrusters are required. Eventually, you will be struck only because of the propulsion element. So, also the state-of-the-art technology relating to satellites, for example. So, I feel the private companies, they should be supported. But I don't know whether they are fully equipped to tackle the so-called equivalent to SpaceX or companies like Thiokol, Rocketdyne, and Aerospatiale, etc. And it will eventually they will come through. But the policy should be that to leave the productionization to them, take care of the R&D within yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
I have one question, sir. So I have a comment and a question. So the first comment is, whenever I used to teach budding doctors and all, we used to say that it's not a rocket science. It's so simple, it's not rocket science. But having you here is a great pleasure that you have read rocket science, been worked with it, and have a large experience. So my question is, whenever I meet a great people like you, sir, I used to ask, what is your advice for youngsters?
You mean those who are willing to work in rocketry or in general or?
Both, sir, rocketry and in general.
No, this is going to be again a philosophical, I mean, I don't want to give you a philosophical advice. And like anybody else, I can say dedicate yourself and then try to work hard and things like that. But actually, I feel you must work in an area which you really like it. Then only the best of your efficiency will come out. I mean, if you are forced to work on an area just for the salary part of it, I think you are not going to contribute the maximum. That means, you, for example, if you are asking my advice to a space engineer, then he should like the space engineering part of it. He should like it and he should start working on it. Otherwise, the advice is get out of that place. Go to somewhere else where you can shine. It could be painting, or it could be acting, or it could be singing, or it could be oceanography, or it could be whatever it is. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. This is Siddharth here again. I felt there is one aspect that I'd love to have you elaborate for all of us here. So you are handling a professional tussle within the organization where you are the lone person fighting for liquid propulsion, where the entire organization, including the seniors, were fighting for solid propulsion. So how did you encounter this situation, and how did you eventually win? Because 9 out of 10 times your instincts were right and your vision for India's space journey was tack sharp and it was absolutely the way it had to be. And, could you please elaborate on how you handle these kind of professional conflicts with the greatest minds of our times and yet convince them despite being, a lone person fighting for this cause? You've been so resilient in this journey, sir.
Siddharth, this is a long story. I don't think that this platform or the timing is sufficient to elaborate. I can only advise you to read that book. That is number one. Number two, briefly, all over the world, you have the tussle between the solids and liquids. Now here, the basic problem was, we happen to have a French technology for solid, which is for the PVC propellant, polyvinyl chloride propellant. That technology was available to us from Sud Aviation of France. Sarabhai was such a great scientist. He could, manipulate things like Sud Aviation giving solid propulsion from France, Russia giving you Minsk computer, and America giving you Nike Apache, and then, that kind of, you can't imagine Russia and America will both contribute to the same person. So that way, since we started with solid, we had an affinity to solid, and actually solid is easier compared to liquid propulsion. In liquid, you have the liquids, you can controllability, storability, transportability, so many things are there. So there was a reluctance, and basically I think they didn't have the faith in our own engineers that they will be able to handle the liquid technology. Because one gentleman asked me, you don't have the propellant, you have no oxidizer, you have no fuel, you have no material which will handle this kind of a temperature. So how are you going to do that? That was his question. But the same gentleman congratulated me when we made it. To make a long story short, so always their analysis of PSLV mission will be with various combinations of solids only. They won't allow even a liquid to be, analyzed, okay, whether it will work in that mode or something like that. But eventually, I would say the credit goes to Dr. Brahmprakash, who was the director of Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Also a close ally to Professor Satish Dhawan. I think I remember those sentences. He was telling after a long struggle, because we were not meeting the mission requirement using only solids. So Dr. Brahmprakash said to Professor Dhawan, Satish, we have no choice. It appears there is no choice other than going to liquids. But it was a bit late, but it doesn't matter. It eventually came. And today we are having all our missions, more than 45 to 50 missions with liquids. Of course, we have also achieved a very great thing in solids. We are probably the second country in the world to have such a size in respect of solid. I think we are close to 3 meters diameter, whereas we had only 3 inches diameter to begin with, and we were exploding it in 66. But liquid, you have more flexibility. You have more complex, of course, certainly. But so it is not that I developed it, because actually to quote Professor Satish Dhawan, he was telling me that Nambi was so vexed up, and he thinks that the solid liquid he can develop liquid. So he was chewing my ears. It was painful. So I thought of packing him to some country to go and look at these things and then come back, etc. So it all started as a, shall I say, fun. But the leaders, take for example Dr. Sarabhai, R. Dhawan, R. Rao, those leaders had a vision. Forget about these people below. They had their own doubts. But those leaders have the vision, certainly. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sending or encouraging directly or indirectly this. That's why I think I have put those stories in my book. But I think you better read it. You will get a good picture. Yeah. Ready to fire. Yes. I think it was named in a different sense. Actually, this fight with the fight in the judiciary, actually my case was solved in the 1998 itself. Yeah, 1998. It started in 94, ended up in 98. But the remaining 20 years and was only to, you see, what happened, these people fabricate a story. And they get away with that story. And at the end of it, they say that we have done it in good faith. You use the word good faith. Now we happen to, it be a mistake. So they never get punished. I have introduced, and in my long fight, commission, the law commission has introduced that you can't escape by saying good faith. And good faith is a story. So now they are, in fact, this Jain committee, which is set up by the Supreme Court, is looking at those people who were responsible for fabricating the spy case, in my case, and find ways and means of properly punishing them. So they are going to suggest methods. That will be the first time a fellow who has done a fabrication of this kind is going to be punished.
So thank you very much for your valuable time. It was an absolute privilege listening to you above all. And certainly, I believe that our step of having you here today for a couple of minutes and your magnanimity to share a couple of minutes with us was, I think, a really epic event in our history itself. And also, we'd like to emphasize that in a small way, your message and your life, we would be able to permeate it to the masses in whatever ways possible. And certainly, most of us here will also be getting a copy of this. I, of course, have the privilege of saying that I have an autographed copy of you when I met you earlier this year. But let me also add that There's Sir's film coming up, Madhavan's film, Rocketry, the Nambi Effect is coming up, perhaps by end of this year. Most of the work is over, and I think they're just in the final production and final post-production stages. So I think as CSF, as members of Toastmasters, we all will go together and watch this film. And perhaps at a better time and day, we'll come and meet you and felicitate you in person if we have that opportunity from you, sir.
Siddharth, I should also thank all of you, because today not only is a Sunday, but it is a lockdown, locked out. So practically I was free. I'm not allowed to do any job or allowed to go out or anything. So that is one advantage. But the second thing is, as you rightly said, Madhavan has done such a marvelous job on that movie. Actually, the story of mine is known in a limited circle as a spy case, but nobody knew exactly what my contribution was. Let it be Princeton, let it be the other various industries, etc. Now, in this film, it is shown what my real contribution in space is actually. So that way, it will bring out my contributions better. And I should once again thank you for. When I met you, you were so enthusiastic about it. I said, I think it's my duty to spend some time. I also see some of you, though I'm not able to see all of you in person, but at least you are all youngsters. You are going to make a big difference in this country in different areas. I think that is if I have done some inspiration to all of you, I think that's the greatest part in that. Thank you so much.
With your blessings, of course, we can, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, T. Modi, over to you.
Yeah. So we thank our honorable guest today,